I would like to call to order the October 17th, 2023 meeting of the Colerain Township Zoning Commission. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So welcome to all in attendance, township staff, and my fellow commissioners. Just a friendly reminder for those present to silence your devices at this time. Mr. Becker, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, you can. Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson? Mr. Wilson is not here, so Mr. Hauser will be seated on his behalf. Sorry. Mr. Gehring?
Here.
Mr. Westfall?
Here.
Ms. McMullen?
Here. All right, so number 4 is presentation of minutes, and we are going to do that next month.
Yes.
Correct? Okay. So moving along to number 5 on our agenda, we have the public address. So next, we would like to welcome the public to address the Zoning Commission with any items on tonight's agenda. If you are here to speak at either of tonight's public hearings, we will hear your comments during those presentations. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Seeing none. Oh, seeing one.
I'd like to,
Excuse me, sir. You'll have to come up to the mic.
I want to speak on the A matter. Is that where we're at right now?
No, not yet.
Sorry about that.
It's okay. Okay.
I'm not sure if this is the correct time or not, but I'm here representing the Fredericks family regarding their property being rezoned commercially.
Okay, that's following the public hearings.
Okay, all right.
Okay, anyone else? Okay. So we do not have any final development plans tonight. So we are to number 7 on our agenda now. That is our public hearings. So we do have 2 public hearings scheduled for tonight. The first case is zoning case ZA 2023-17, which is a zoning map amendment for 3541 and 3551 Banning Road. And Mr. Becker, do you have a presentation?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Not yet.
Thank you for the introduction, Ms. McMullen. So, as stated, it's on, right? This is ZA 2023-17. This is a map amendment from R6 to B1. And as Ms. McMullen mentioned, this will be taking place at 3541 and 3551 Banning Road. For some general information, as mentioned, 3541 and 3551 Banning Road, parcel numbers are there. The applicant for today's case, that is Jonathan Wiltshire, on behalf of McBride Dale Colerain. The property owner for those would be Rick Davis and R&K Developers. And as mentioned, that zoning district, that is an R6 urban residential district. And once again, they want to change to B1. Here's our zoning map. And right in the bottom right corner in that little tiny circle, that's what we're talking about. More zoomed in here. Here's where you see that separation quite literally on the border of the B1 and the R6. Here's a physical geography map of it. More close up. A little more. Here's that zoning designation more close up again as well. Sort of pinpointing that separation right there between the B1 and the R6. Here's a property map. Here's our topo map. And right into history. Well, you're looking at it. This marks the beginning of the proceedings with 3541 and 3551 Banning Road. And they are here today seeking to rezone the two properties from R6 to B1, as I mentioned, particularly due to the positive development potential that it would be associated with the B1's rezoning. Here's Mr. Wocher's application, as well as their letter of intent. This was included in all the packets and is online as well. Here's that site plan, just highlighting those property boundaries. That would be a combined area of 0.78 acres. Here's their site plan submission. Just simply highlighting those two parcels. As for the zoning resolution and the relevant information, we were looking particularly at section 4.3.1, that is amendment initiation, 4.3.4, review criteria, and 1.1.1, which is our purpose statement. Beginning with 4.3.1, amendments or supplements to the zoning resolution may be initiated by the filing of an application by one or more of the owners of the property within the area proposed to be changed or affected by the proposed amendment. 4.3.4, that would be for us. The amendment is in accordance with the Colerain Township Comprehensive Plan, the Land Use Plan, other adopted plans or policies of the township. This is Colerain Township zoning resolution. And then lastly, as for the purpose statement, except as otherwise provided in this section, such actions must be in the interest of the public health and safety and in the interest of the public convenience, comfort, prosperity, or general welfare. As for our staff findings, we determined that the applicant's request for the map amendment did in fact adequately correspond to the standards as mentioned. And on top of that, the rezoning from R6 to B1 does in fact bring forth development potential that is otherwise stagnant through the R6 zoning. As for our recommendation, we would recommend for approval of KZA 2023-17, the map amendment from R6 to B1, with the following conditions. None. And that concludes my staff report.
Thank you. And commissioners, before we open the public hearing, do any of you have any questions for Mr. Becker or Mr. Miller? Okay, at this time, we need to open our public hearing. Can we have a motion and a second, please?
Motion to open the public hearing.
Okay.
Mr. Becker, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Gehring?
Yes.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
All right.
And Ms. McMullen?
Yes. All right. So if there was, I know there are three, but could the three please rise? And Mr. Miller, can you, or Mr. Becker, we need to swear them in?
I think there's a third gentleman here that's going to be
Jim,
testifying.
Aren't you going to speak on this? Stand up.
Yeah, you want to stand up and raise your hand too?
No,
No.
different case.
Thank you. First up, we have Jonathan Wilker. And for the record, could you please state your name and address, please?
Yes, thank you. My name is Jonathan Woker. I'm a planner with McBride Dale Colerain, 5721 Dragon Way, Suite 300, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45227. And I am the applicant in this case, representing Mr. Rick Davis and Arcade Developers. And if I could cover some of the information that Mr. Becker already talked about. I think this slide kind of demonstrates the crux of what we're asking for. We are asking for a zone change from R6 residential to B1 neighborhood business district. This is for 0.78 acres. It's the two parcels at 3541 and 3551 Banning Road. Mr. Davis, through his other company ownings, RK Development and RKC Real Estate Holdings, owns several acres adjacent to these two parcels to the west. So Mr. Davis owns approximately 1.8 acres along the frontage of Banning Road and Blue Rock Road. And by rezoning this property from R6 to B1, basically squares up the property, creates a 2.5 acre development parcel that we feel has more development potential than the existing R6, and we also feel that the R6 has little development potential as currently configured. The intent would be to obtain the zoning and then work on a future development plan that would be consistent with the B1 zoning. I know Mr. Davis has talked to the township about this project in the past and considered this commercial zoning for some time. So we believe that the request is consistent with the surrounding zoning. This actually has the same depth as the commercial zoning to the south, and again, kind of squares up the property and creates a development parcel of about 2.6 acres that we think will have potential in the future for a commercial development. So that's what we're asking for. I will try and answer questions. We support the staff's findings, and we request that the zoning commission recommend approval of this application.
Thank you.
I believe Kyle Davis is here. He's the son of Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis is on vacation, but he signed to speak. He would speak if you have questions.
Hey, Mr. Davis, did you want to speak?
Not at this time. Any questions come up?
All right, thank you. Mark Cowens? Cowens? Yes. Okay. And just for the record, we do need you to speak to,
Can I go over there and show you the property where I am?
before we start, you do need to state your name and your address for the record,
Mark
please.
Cowens, 5323 Banning Road.
Okay. And can we first just start with your questions, and then if we have questions, we'll direct you up there.
Okay, is them for putting more rental space in there for that area? The congestion already is so bad. We have numerous wrecks at Banning, and that's meets Blue Rock there. People can't even pull in and out of United Dairy Farmers, which is on the corner, and I wish I was allowed to go over there and show you all this. Okay, so we already have a problem with traffic. It's backed down the street on Banning for a quarter mile, and I've driven it just to see. Where they want to put this at is right against the property that I'm at where there's 2 acres. And the trash has gotten so bad up there as it is already, it's just gotten worse and worse. They refused to put, they have 2 houses on the street there, which they refused to put water lines in so that they could be rented out even. And they've been sitting there empty. If you go by the property right now, and I'd love to take you all right there, you would not believe how they've torn it all up. It looks terrible. I did notice in the one picture up there, it did show that. But with them bringing this there, bringing more traffic, the whole area is congested there, and that's not gonna work. It's gonna have more wrecks. And them building it there, we're gonna have more people going up and down, because we already have a problem with people robbing cars, going through the backyards, all these kids and stuff. That's gonna bring more of that, and I don't want that. So I think they should tell them no, that they cannot do this. We don't need more stuff like that. If you could please go United Dairy Farmers, sit in their parking lot for a little while. You would see you can't even pull in and out of there, and all the way up to Blue Rock there. It's just terrible. With White Oak Nursery across the street, people in and out of there, there's wrecks all the time. And the people around there are tired of this. And the person that lives next to me, Dr. Gow, he's tired of it too. They start at 6 o'clock in the morning, and they bring this heavy equipment out, and it actually shakes the house in the morning. And this is at 6 o'clock in the morning during the summer. And I think it's a really bad idea. It's just gonna make it more congested. If anything, if they want to tear it all down and do something else with it, make it back to the residential. They've already got 3 houses there. One, they do run out The other two, like I said, they wouldn't put water lines in, but they were rented out at one time. They owned also part of their property, it's White Oak Lawnmower. The guy that owned that, can I get a drink of water? The guy that owned White Oak Lawnmower there, which everybody went there from this area. Well, they would not renew his lease and told him he had to be out by November 1st. So he had to close down. He had nowhere else to move to. So this was just as much of a shock to him as anybody. The Fry family are the one that built the building where the lawnmower shop is. The Fry family, I'm sure you know the Fry families are all around. There's 7 sisters I help out that, I'm a nurse, and there's 7 of them I help out at times. And they can't even believe that this is happening, that somebody would want to tear all this down, put up another strip mall, and make it more congested. And we're going to have more and more wrecks. The fire truck goes by on Blue Rock Road there in Banning, at least, if I'm home during the day, 5 times a day. And so does the ambulance. It's constant. So that's going to be another problem. You got to be able to get these ambulances to the hospital or the fire truck to the fire. And then doing this is going to make it worse. So I hope you guys decide to tell them no, that they cannot do this.
Thank you.
Can
And
I show you the property where I live?
one
please?
second, gentlemen,
What?
is anyone not familiar enough with the area? Do we need him to go point?
Please let me, because
Just- What's his address? What's your address?
5325, that's, okay, see behind there?
Go ahead.
Okay. Gal owns this, and it's been promised to me. I have this lot and that lot.
Which two?
Please?
Show it again?
Oh, this lot here, Dr. Gal has this lot here. This is where this is where Walmart shop is.
Yeah,
These are the 2 houses, there's a house and a 4-family that they would not put water in.
yeah.
Also, there's wildlife back there, that's where the hawks are. We see eagles back there, the deer go back there. Right across the street here is the lake, and they go across back and forth. But like I said, the biggest problem is the traffic. It's horrible how many wrecks are there all the time. And there's United Dairy Farmers. They have problems. People can't pull in and out. When they try, they almost get hit all the time, especially if they're pulling out and going left on Banning here. They can't because the traffic is so bad. And then they sit out in the middle of the street and it winds up, you have a wreck. So putting another mall or strip mall right here, I'm gonna have more garbage from them already. You would not believe the amount of garbage that comes into my yard from them. Because I own all the way back to here. I would love, can you make you got a picture up here that kind of showed that they had, it's all torn up. This whole back area of their lot is all torn up, gravel's everywhere. Just huge pieces of driveway and stone, and it's all concrete. It's been sitting there. It looks like crap. I mean, you wouldn't want this next to your house. You would want them to have this moved. And you're not gonna want more traffic and people coming through there or I don't want people in my yard. And it's bad enough as it is because they go to United Dairy Farmers. They go over to the garden shop. You have to be able to turn from Banning Road into the garden shop in that tiny space. You can see 2 cars right there. And all the time, people are getting hit or almost hit because there's 1 car there, 1 there. You can see, you could maybe get 3 cars there. If you're turning, 3 car lines isn't enough if you're not paying attention. Because they just have to stop all of a sudden. Or they try to turn to the left in the White Garden, and they can't because the traffic is so bad there. The wrecks are horrendous. And this idea of doing this, it's gonna make it worse.
Okay, would you mind going back to the podium now, though?
So I just ask you guys, please don't let this happen. It's bad enough, there's one lane this way, one lane that way. It can't happen. And plus, all the trash that comes from them, all the noise at 6 o'clock in the morning, it actually shakes my house. It shakes Dr. Gal's house. He's tired of it. Me, I just sort of go with it, yeah, it's a business, but it's just gonna make it worse.
Ask this gentleman a question.
And
Yes.
especially there's an eagle back there, there are hawks back there, so you can look at the wildlife there too.
Mr. Callens, Mr. Garing has a question.
You had
for
mentioned the noise at 6 o'clock in the morning, the heavy trucks. What are you referring to?
They have trucks and big heavy backhoes and stuff where they're pulling them off the trailers, putting them on the trailers, they're banging down. It shakes the house.
So you're saying they're storing that equipment back there and moving it in or out?
Yes.
Okay.
And they're pulling out on Banning Road. The whole reason they want to do this, they want to access the Banning Road to pull inside now. And that's going to create more traffic because they're one house away from my property and they're going to be trying to pull these trucks in and out. And these are regular dump trucks with like a backhoe on them or anything else. And you cannot even, it's hard for a car, much less a dump truck and a backhoe. So you're not going to get it. It's going to cause more problems. And as I told you, the traffic's already backed up at least a quarter mile down the road all the time on Banning.
Well, we appreciate you coming out tonight and letting us know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So we just had the 3 gentlemen who were signed in. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak? Okay. So seeing none, we do need a motion to close our public hearing tonight.
A motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Mr. Becker, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Garing?
Yes.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Aye.
And Ms. McMullen?
Yes. And commissioners, do you have any additional questions for staff or for the applicant?
I have an additional question.
Okay.
The current owners, I guess Mr. Davis, is that correct, or son? Do you agree that at 6 o'clock in the morning you've been pulling backhoes and so forth in and out of the property?
Well, what I would state is, again, Jonathan Woker, our intent for this request tonight is to allow a change to happen at this property.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and so I think this is an opportunity for the township to create a development parcel that can see change and that the limitation to redevelopment of the property on Blue Rock is largely constrained by the depth of the zoning. And so by changing the R6 that we're asking for creates a development parcel that will allow the trucks and the use that's there to be something else. And we would have to meet the township's requirements for that, and we'd have to meet all kinds of traffic requirements as well.
And I'm kind of a simple guy, okay? I take your answer to be, yes, we are pulling trucks out of there since you talked around the question, okay? Is that fair?
I'll let Mr.
I will say, not every day. Trucks do not leave there every day at 6 o'clock. Yeah,
But
there
it
may-
happens.
There may be a morning where at 6 o'clock a truck leaves.
Okay.
There's 2 trucks and 2 pieces of equipment back there. You know, he might get a little bit loud, but it's nothing intentional.
Okay.
Let me drill down a little bit then. It does look bad. I was out there today and it's horrible. So what is the game plan with all that concrete and the recycling that you've got going on? It is a mess. And if I was that gentleman, I wouldn't want to live next to it. So what's the game plan here?
Right now, he is in the process of cleaning it up. As you know, those properties are condemned. He's been going through them.
Cleaning up property, the vacant properties, I don't buy it. You have stacks of concrete that are 20 feet high. What are you doing there? Is that a recycling facility?
No.
Well, then what is it?
He uses it, well, now that the fence is down, A lot of that concrete he'll bring in, he does store, and he has dump sites where he takes stuff, and,
As
you
part
know,
of the construction business,
yeah,
yes.
I mean, he can't take everything all at once.
Do you think that's an appropriate use at that intersection, next to residential?
No.
Okay.
So our intent is to get the zoning for this property and then to team with the developer to have a 2.6 acre redevelopment of this project. So Mr. Davis's plan is to obtain the zoning that he needs in order to redevelop this property.
And I can
So-
appreciate that.
Right.
But in the interim, is that all that concrete and the debris that's out there, is that gonna be filled for the redevelopment?
You know, I'm not real sure of what his plan is with that. I'm not real sure.
And I understand wanting to square the property off, I get wanting to make a larger parcel, but it really looked bad. I was surprised how bad it looked out there. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. What is going on? I thought, well, then maybe they tore some buildings down. Then I took a better look. It's driveway stuff. You're taking debris from someone else's parcel, you're storing it there, crushing it there, I don't know what you're doing, and it looks horrible. Horrible. So now that you've heard I'm gonna get off my soapbox and explain to me what the game plan is for that, what's out there. Is it gonna continue until you find a user?
That I will have to speak with him about.
I think that's very important to speak to whoever's the owner, because I do not think that is appropriate whatsoever.
May I just make a point that I've made in the past up here, for the years that I've been here? We had a user on Colerain Avenue, I won't name him, that wanted a change in zoning. And they were not complying with current zoning laws. So my feedback to them was, listen, get current with what the zoning laws are now, and then bring your application back. This is my opinion and my opinion only, and it might be considered at that time. If this is a residential area, which it is right now, and you're storing concrete, I would advise that that's in violation, is it not, to residential zoning? And aren't these gentlemen subject to a fine if in fact that's the case, or notification if they don't clean it up, then it's a fine?
They're storing it on property that is zone B1.
That's not true. That is not true.
It's, so,
The
all of these,
aerial, David, the aerial illustrates that.
okay, are all these parcels B1? I think I've
The
looked that
yellow,
up.
If you zoom in on that site plan right now, the parcel that's outlined in yellow, if you can zoom in some more, that would be awesome, Justin.
That does look like he
Look at
has
that.
some back there. When I've driven by it, I've been on Blue Rock, and that's what I saw. I didn't go,
That's residential zoning now.
right now it is. Yeah, you are exactly right.
So shouldn't we be going out there and essentially enforcing our zoning requirements and get it to look and be used as residential?
That certainly,
And what I'm saying is that, my personal opinion is, we have no assurance that you're gonna follow the zoning requirements in the future if you can't follow them now. So why should we grant you a variance or a new zoning when you can't follow the laws now? So clean your act up, get to residential zoning requirements now, which is what the land is zoned for, and stop storing your trucks there, stop, using your backhoe there, and get the stuff out of there. And after it is where it should be for a period of time, 6, 12 months, then come back with your request and it might be considered. But I have a hard time voting for a zoning change for someone who's not compliant with the zoning requirements now. That's all I'm saying.
Perhaps it makes sense, given the comments by the commission, that we ask you to continue this for a month. Let me get Mr. Davis so he can be here and we can digest what you've asked for.
That's
And
fine, I think it's
instead of-
appropriate. If the gentleman here is not sure of the business plan, I think that makes a lot of sense. Let me speak to a few things, though. Now, let's get past the concrete. I think just from a 1,000 feet view, 10,000 feet view, the rezoning makes some sense to me. The gentleman spoke about traffic, and I can appreciate that. I was in the area today. I did go to UDF, and I did make the turn. But to your point, I did make the left turn, but no problem. But I think let's look at it a little bit. If you look at the UDF curb cut and its close proximity to Blue Rock, potentially with this rezoning, you may be able to pull the new curb cut, the new driveway approach for this new parcel, or this new development, further away from Blue Rock. Yeah, no, let me finish. I listened to you, now you listen to me, all right? You can certainly, in the area that's yellow, that's being rezoned, if that is a driveway, clearly that's further away from Blue Rock than the existing driveway for UDF. Clearly. So my point is that potentially, and we haven't seen a site development plan, I'm just telling you my thoughts on the rezoning, potentially some of those curb cuts that are existing on Banning, as well as that are existing on Blue Rock, will be removed on a redevelopment, which will certainly help on the accident count that's happening with the cross traffic that occurs out there. With regard to additional traffic, I think that's probably true. I think that right now there's not a whole lot of uses in that area. You have 3 vacant buildings, you have a 4-family, and you have 1 single-family house that I think is their office, or it's vacant, or whatever it is. So there's just not a lot of traffic that's generated by that parcel. I'll give you that. But you know what? There will be some additional traffic when it's rezoned or when it's redeveloped as it is. That's just a given, and that's their right as property owners to be able to have, if it meets the zoning of B1, to have a use there that generates traffic. That's just the way that it works, and that's the hell it is. What I'm trying to say is, potentially with the rezoning, I think it's going to clean up some of those curb cuts and maybe make it a lot less dangerous and less accidents that are out there.
Commissioners, any other questions or feedback? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Becker, Mr. Miller, so given the circumstances, how is it that we should proceed? We're clearly not ready for a motion, so
Just want to table it?
do we table? Do they just withdraw?
I would suggest that the applicant has asked for a tabling for 1 month, and they would get with the owner, Mr. Davis, and discuss with him plans not only for compliance, but potential plans for the future, if those exist, and then they could come back in the next month, and we could just hold it until then.
All right,
So do you need a motion to table then?
we will need a motion.
I make a motion that we table the rezoning request that was before us this evening titled ZA 2023-17. And again, that's a zoning map amendment 3544, 3541, and 3551 Banning Road.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Becker, a roll call, please.
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Gehring?
Yes.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall? Ms. McMullen?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, November 21st. That is correct. You're welcome, thank you. All right, so next up, we have a public hearing for zoning case ZA 2023-13, which is a minor amendment to the consent decree A0007121 and ZA 1999-06 and ZA 5-88 for 3600 Struble Road, Rumpke Sanitary Landfill. And Mr. Becker, do you have a presentation for us, please?
I do. Thank you, Ms. McMullen, for the introduction. Just to restate real quick, we are working with ZA 2023-13. Sorry to go backwards in numbers, but that's how it works today. The minor amendment to an FDP and consent decree. This is going to be taking place at an entrance off of 3800 Struble Road. Sorry, 3600 would, I believe, be the headquarters location of their main office. 3800 would be the entrance in which they will be using to get to this proposed development. Running by some application information again. As mentioned, that property address is at 3800 Struble Road. That's where the entrance will be through. The parcel number is there as well. The applicant for this project would be Scott Huber. That is with Abercrombie & Associates. The owner would be Rumpke Sanitary Landfill. And the zoning district for this specific project would take place just within the SWD. That is our solid waste disposal district. Starting with our far out zoning map. Then zoomed in, that's where the edge of the SWD is in purple. The striped color would be that PDI. Here's a physical geography map up there at the north. You would see where the proposed site is. Again, more closer up. So as you can see, their main office is down there at the bottom. I measured that out to be a roughly 13 to 1400 foot setback to the public access way of Struble Road. Here's it more close up again. Here's that zoning more close up again, right on the edge of the SWD and the PDI. And lastly, then there's our topo map. So as for case history, going all the way back to 1996, case ZA 1999-06, sorry, and ZA 5-88, as well as the consent decree, that being A000721. Those are the guiding documents for the Scale House project. Case ZA 5-88 addressed and approved the PDP and FDP for Rumpke through the Hamilton County Rural Zoning Commission. And then in November of 2000, the Colerain Township Board of Trustees approved Resolution 46-00, addressing Rumpke's request for zoning changes, as well as establishing a consent decree, particularly Exhibit C, which highlights the necessary terms and conditions for Rumpke following the implementation of our zoning. Particularly from the consent decree, Exhibit C, the two most crucial items from that were number 18 and number 29, beginning with number 18. No building in the EF and FF districts shall exceed 35 feet in height. And number 29, any modifications to existing buildings other than removal shall be reviewed and approved by the Township Zoning Commission. Because of the fact that this is in addition to an already existing scale house, we threw it in here as sort of it being blanket termed modification. As for the requested action, the applicant today is requesting to construct a new scale house with 2 new scales on the edge of the SWD along Struble Road. In doing so, the overall objective with this project is to adequately mitigate that traffic congestion that exists along Colerain Avenue in Struble. Here's our application as well as our letter of intent. Again, this information is within the packets and online. Here's the checklist that they submitted. Here's that site plan. Here's it more zoomed up. As you can see, they have the new scale house as well as that main entrance that they will be utilizing to get there. So you can see it's quite a ways away. Here's their grading and demolition plan as well as their utility and layout plan. Once again, I'll blow that up a little bit. Here's the grading and demolition plan. And once again, this is all in the packets and online. Here is that utility and the layout plan. Here would be the building footprint. And also want to add in here as well that the applicant indicated that it would be just over 10 feet, so we are not close to that 35-foot maximum. Some elevations for you. Turning now towards the zoning resolution and the relevant information. We will be working thoroughly through 9.4. That is our SWD, Solid Waste Disposal District, as I mentioned. For that would be sections 9.4.1, the purpose statements, 9.4.3, the permitted uses, and 9.4.8, the approved development plans, site plans, or court orders. And then once again, we'll be using 4.3.4, that would be the review criteria, as well as 1.1.1, that is our purpose statement. Beginning with 9.4.1,
if you don't mind me stopping you, if you wouldn't mind just pausing on the screens and just giving us just a few seconds to read them ourselves. I don't think you have to go through them word
Okay.
for word, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Here's 9.4.1, that's the purpose section.
All right, thank you.
And 9.4.3, the permitted uses.
Okay,
9.4.8, the approved development plans, site plans, or court orders.
all right, thank you.
And then again, 4.3.4, the review criteria.
Thank you.
And lastly, 1.1.1, that is our purpose statement.
Thank you.
Leading us to the staff findings, we felt that the Rumpke Scale House project, not feel like, but determined that the Rumpke Scale House project adequately corresponded to the following provisions that we just had on screen. And on top of that, this Scale House project effectively works to address and mitigate that traffic congestion along Colerain Avenue and Struble Road by incorporating the proposed Scale House near the edge of the SWD at a point that shall be set back roughly 1,360 feet from the public access way of Struble Road. And finally, for our recommendation, we recommend for approval of KCA 2023-13, a minor amendment to the FDP and consent decree with no conditions.
Thank you.
That'll conclude my staff report.
All right, commissioners, any questions for staff before we open our public hearing? Okay, hearing none, we do need to open our public hearing. Can we have a motion and a second, please?
I motion we open public hearing.
Second?
Mr. Becker, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Gehring?
Yes.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes. All right, so anyone who is planning on speaking tonight, if you would please stand and raise your right hand, and Mr. Miller will swear you in.
All right, I state your name. Do solemnly swear. I'll tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Mr. Huber, welcome back. It's been a while. For the record, your name and address, please.
My name is Scott Huber. I'm a site civil engineer with Abercrombie and Associates. My address is 8111 Cheviot Road, Suite 200, 45247. I'm representing the applicant, Rumpke Landfill. The staff gave you a very thorough presentation about all the history of the code and the zoning hearings that has happened over the years for this project. I just want to give you more of a I guess, high-level view of why we feel that we need to do this. You know, if you remember, I think it was a year or maybe 2 years ago, we came in front of the commission here and we asked for approval to do a Citizens Convenience Center, which is a redevelopment of the Citizens dump area that's on the west side of the landfill there. So that's under construction right now. So they're building that. If you remember, that was the board approved that, and so we processed that and got a building permit. So that's under construction. So as time has gone on from that, some things have come up that Rumpke has decided that they needed a new scale house in the location that we're proposing there, just south of the Pond 2, and one of the main reasons that has happened is that EPA has recently notified Rumpke that they're about to pass some new regulations regarding the scaling process that landfills need to do for scaling in and out vehicles. So Currently, Rumpke uses a tear rate weight system where if somebody shows up in a pickup truck and it's a Chevy 1500, they use a database or whatever to tear weight that and weigh how much is coming in and out of the landfill. Well, EPA has implemented new regulations that are coming into effect where all the vehicles need to be weighed inbound and outbound. So that's going to create a demand at the front entrance here where the scale house originally is right now. If you remember, we had all our traffic going through there. We had the Rumpke traffic and we had the Citizens area traffic going in there. Well, now they're going to have to weigh all that Citizens vehicles in and out, and they feel that it's going to conflict and impede the weighing in of the Rumpke vehicles. And they're also currently seeing some extensive queuing going on at the main entrance. It's not out on the Struble Road yet, but with the increase in demand and the increase in the Citizens area traffic that's coming through here, Rumpke is anticipating a traffic problem at the Struble Road entrance. So they're trying to cut off the, kind of get ahead of the game here and not have a safety issue out on Struble Road. So what they are proposing in this solution is to construct this new scale house on the east side of the landfill, just on the south end of pond number 2. And they're going to route all their commercial traffic to that area. So all the Rumpke vehicles are going to come in on Struble Road. They're going to bypass that existing scale house that's there now. They're going to go along the south end of the Hall Road and hit this new scale by pond 2 and weigh in that way. And what that is going to do is that's going to clean up all of the traffic that's at the existing scale house. They're going to leave that just for the residential traffic. And so you'll have you're going to eliminate the queuing problem that they have there. And you're also going to really segregate the Citizens traffic coming in on the left-hand side as you're going in. And we're going to have all the Rumpke trucks on the right-hand side. There's not going to be any of this crisscrossing of traffic or intermingling of traffic. And we feel that's just a much safer operation for the Citizens. We feel that it's going to be safer to not have a backup on the Struble Road. So that's really what the reasoning is for this new request here tonight. So we're following the same procedures that we did with the Citizens area. We're in a minor amendment process. So it's one meeting in front of the Zoning Commission tonight. If this is approved, it does not go to the trustees. There's no referendum period or anything like that. We're able to come in with a zoning certificate very quickly. That's why we need it. So we're asking for approval on this minor amendment. And we have several members of the Rumpke team that are here tonight for questions, and also the architect is here. So yes, we appreciate an approval tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And did anyone else want to speak, or? And for the record, you'll just have to state your name and address, please.
Dave Redwine, representing Rumpke at 3800 Struble Road. And if I could plug in here, just to demonstrate a little bit of what Scott had mentioned here. If we can get the signal. So as you can see here, just as. Test, test.
Yeah, is it green? Light green?
Okay. All right. So as Scott had mentioned, we're reducing the traffic. The photo up here is representing a photo from the current scale house. And you can see in the background that we have a lot of backed up traffic up to Struble Road. With the new proposal, we would reduce the traffic back up into Struble into Colerain Avenue. Also, as Scott had mentioned, with the crisscrossing of traffic within the facility, which you'll see in the following slides, would separate the pickup trucks. This is your local pickup trucks, your dump trailers. It would separate from the larger Rumpke trucks traffic and provide an overall better experience for the visitors and customers. This is a representation of the traffic pattern with the current configuration. As you can see on the left photo, the red is the small haulers, the pickup trucks, the dump trailers, and the black is the Rumpke trucks. They crisscross within the intersection just past the scale house. And on the right side, with the new scale house and the proposed configuration, the Rumpke traffic and the larger trucks, commercial industrial trucks, would follow that black line where the smaller trucks would not crisscross. Here's a little bit more blown out view of what the traffic looks like. You can see the crisscrossing is reduced. There's no crisscrossing, and this creates a safer environment. Any questions?
So they're both going to use the same entrance, the entrance that's there now?
Correct. That's correct.
Any other questions? No.
Thank you.
And did we have someone else, I believe, who stood up, who wanted to speak? Or no? No?
I'm just here to answer, I'm the architect, I'm just here to answer any questions.
Okay. All right, so commissioners, no additional questions for the applicant or for staff? Okay, seeing none, we can have a motion to close the public hearing, please.
So moved?
Second.
Mr. Becker, can we have a roll call, please?
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Gehring?
Yes.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Aye.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes. All right. So at this time, is there anyone who would like to make a motion?
Yes, I make a motion that we approve ZA 2023-113, the minor amendment to the consent decree for Rumpke as presented.
And I'll second that. And just for clarification, it's zoning case ZA 2023-13. Mr. Becker?
Mr. Bachman?
Yes.
Mr. Gehring?
Yes.
Mr. Hauser?
Yes.
Mr. Westfall?
Yes.
Ms. McMullen?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And if you don't want to stay for the remaining part of the meeting, you don't have to. All right, so next we have an informal concept review, and that is for ICR 2023-06 for 7102 Springdale Road, which is a single-family residence currently zoned as B2. And Mr. Becker, do you have a presentation for us?
I do, hopefully, if it comes back.
That's what it does.
We need to make a motion to update our technology,
Second that motion. And third.
right?
It's gonna just have to cool down, warm up. It'll take a little bit longer. You could probably talk through this until that gets warm or cool. Yeah, it's just what the projector does. I think it overheats. There we go.
Alrighty, now we're back. So, following Ms. McMullen's introduction, once again, we are working with ICR 2023-06. That is a map amendment from B2 to R3 that takes place at 7102 Springdale Road. As for some general information again, parcel number right there. The applicant, that would be Charlene Younger, on behalf of Marion Frederick, the property owner. And the zoning district is currently, as stated, B2. That is our general business district. Now for some zoning maps. You can see the little circle down there on the bottom left-hand side of the screen. Here it is more zoomed up to highlight that sort of edge of the B2 and the R3 right there. Here's a physical geography map. Zoomed in. Even further. Here's that property map. And lastly, a topo map. As for the requested action, the applicant is seeking to rezone the property from B2 to R3, particularly due to issues with selling the property as residential rather than commercial. Here's the application. And lastly, here is their letter of intent.
Could you go back to the aerial, the nice blow-up aerial? Trying to get my arms around this, so.
Harrison on your left.
It's on the bottom of it.
So down the Springdale Hill.
Yeah,
Oh, we're going down the sharp hill there.
yeah, bottom of the hill, and that's the school right across from it.
That's it, right?
Yep.
Okay. Boy, I was so lost. Okay, I get it now. Okay, thank you.
All right. Would you like to step forward now? And just for the record, state your name and address, and you might need to move the microphone down.
I'm Charlene Younger. My address is 11426 Lincolnshire. My mom's address is 7102 Springdale Road.
And can you give us just a little bit of background of what's going on, please?
Sure. First of all, thank you for meeting with us tonight. My parents bought this home in 1967. Sorry. Anyway, they lived there through 63 years of marriage, raised 4 kids. My dad passed away a year ago. In August, my mom determined that she could no longer care for the house, and we put it up for sale. Did everything we needed to do to get it ready to go. As you can imagine, after that many years of marriage, there was a lot of selling, giving away, donating, trying to decide what to do with all these things. Again, my mom is 87. She can no longer care for the property. And so we put this house up for sale. We were to close last Friday at 4 p.m., only to find out the Wednesday before that the property was commercial. We had no idea. My mom and dad never received any information about this. Again, they've been there 56 years, and we found out last Wednesday that it was zoned as commercial. When I called the township and asked them about the property, he said that we should be grandfathered in, and that there shouldn't really be a problem unless something happened to the property. And then at that time, if it was damaged beyond 60%, that a residential property could not be built. The buyer that we had was very excited about the home. She loved it. But when it went to the underwriter, the letter that was written by the township was not accepted, and she backed out of the deal. So we're back to square one to try to sell the home. So we're asking that we're not really sure historically why it got changed from residential to commercial. When they bought the home, it was listed as residential. And so we're not really sure. Again, it's changed mortgages several times through a reverse mortgage that my parents did. And through all that process was never communicated that it was a commercial property. And so my mom and I are trying to kind of figure out what next steps that we can take to prevent this from happening, and that's why I'm here tonight, to see if this could please be a residential property. This is
If you come to the podium and you do have to state your name and address, please.
My name is Stephanie Bolden, and my address is 4599 Phil Knoll Drive here in Colerain Township. And I actually represented the family as the realtor. So I was the one communicating with the lender, with the buyer, and with the buyer's realtor. And so what the lender came back to me with, like Charlene said, we were closing on Friday. We were clear to close almost. And on Wednesday, they reached out and said that the underwriter does not see the home as collateral to back them backing the loan for the buyer. And so initially, we thought that this was an issue just specifically with that particular lender because it was the Bank of England, which was odd. But what I found, and what I've got some documentation from the lender, what they're saying is that 95% of loans at some point go through Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae. At some point, they get sold, right? And Freddie Mac nor Fannie Mae will back a loan on a property that if 60% of it's damaged, it cannot be rebuilt as residential because therefore there's no collateral to back their 15 or 30-year mortgage. And so we're asking to have the property rezoned because if we put it back on the market, we don't know what's gonna happen and we'll get down to closing. And actually, we now at this point have to disclose it per law. So prior to this, we didn't disclose it because we didn't know. So moving forward, when we list the home now as sellable property, that has to be disclosed, which is going to turn off buyers unless they're interested in commercial property. And as you can see where it sits, it's not really a place for commercial property. And the home immediately next door is zoned residential. It's zoned R3. And so that's why we're here asking to have this B2 property rezoned as R3 so that it can be marketed as residential property and sold.
I have a question for the staff. And the question is, the property to the east, not the residential, to the east, and in other words, where it comes into Harrison and the interstates to the north. Who owns that? Is that state right of way?
You're talking about one to the left.
Yes,
right?
to the left. To the left.
It's Flower.
Mr. Flowers, Mrs. Flowers?
Very pretty.
That is ODOT.
So that's right away, obviously, for the interstate. It's slash the intersection of Harrison, slash.
Everything to the left is gonna be ODOT.
So ODOT owns all the way up to their property line. Would that be correct?
Yep.
Okay.
So do you know, have you contacted the county auditor to try to find out when the actual change was made?
So from what I found, it was in 1996 that the change was made. Even though on the Hamilton County's auditor site, it's like being taxed residentially, still not commercially. But the actual zoning change took place in 96.
Thanks to the highest rate.
So Mr. Miller, what can we do as the zoning commission?
Recommendation would be for the zoning commission to pass a motion to instruct the staff to prepare a zoning map amendment to change the zoning on this parcel from the R3 or from B2 to R3. And they would bring that back to you next month for your consideration. And that would, in my estimation, make it just. When I look back at the county auditor site, even the transfer was 1970, has one line item there.
Right.
And so we did some research. We could not find out internally how that happened and why. We're kind of guessing that the Archdiocese property that is on the other side of Springdale there, all of that property is B2. And so it appears that maybe somebody just kind of took a pen and drew a straight line to the right of their home and down to the Archdiocese, and kind of took that whole corner without consideration that everything up Springdale is still residential. And so it seems like the proper and right thing for us to do is just change that back, because it prohibits them from doing anything with the property. It really does.
So generally, there is a fee to do that. Are we able to say waive the fee, or?
Well, if they brought the application and requested that, then there would be. But given that you were the ones making that request, then that change is done on their behalf. And, we're correcting something that we likely participated in, again, erroneously, but we have the right to do that, and we could fix that for them. And
Is there any way we could do that and fix it faster than making them wait an additional 30 days, since they're in the point they'd like to sell the property?
Understandably so. There is a requirement that a zoning map amendment would require publication in a circulation, common circulation newspaper. It would also require notification of adjoiner properties. So, that's usually a lead of a minimum 10 days. So we could hold a special meeting of the zoning commission in the near future. But until then, it's November 21st would be the next meeting.
That would be greatly appreciated. And the reason why is Ms. Fredericks, as Charlene mentioned, is in an assisted living right now. And so right now she's financially responsible for both, for where she's living now and now the mortgage on the home, which she wouldn't have been if we had have closed last Friday.
Right.
Is the potential buyer still interested?
We don't know. I wanted to wait pending the outcome of this conversation today, and I'm going to reach back out. I know that this process made her a little weary. She's a brand new home buyer, right? It's first time, and she's young, and I think now she's scared because based off the language that was put together, it basically says if your home burns down, it won't be rebuilt, right? And so I don't know. So
But that goes away here. If the
Yeah, no, it
property's
goes away
rezoned,
now.
that whole issue goes away.
That's yes, exactly. But I don't know with this particular buyer.
Sure.
If she's been scared off. But yeah, no, you're right. That's ideal.
So do you have a relationship with the next door neighbor? I would suggest that you just let them know that they're gonna get notice of this public hearing, of why you want to do it, so that it just smooths it a little bit, so that hopefully everything goes the way that you want it to go at the next time we meet.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
The church would have to be,
The church will be notified. It's, properties within 200 feet
right.
will be notified, and so certainly the archdiocese will get a letter. I doubt they're gonna have any concerns. ODOT certainly doesn't, so it's just gonna be those neighbors that are.
I would. Yeah.
Yeah. Just tell them they're gonna be a public hearing for a zoning change. Yeah.
So that neighbor will get notice. They will get a letter at their mailbox that says there is a rezoning application pending, a meeting on November 21st, whenever it is. It's a lot easier for us and for you if you have a discussion with them saying it's coming, here's why it's coming, here's the issue that we found, we don't know how it happened in 1996. We're just getting you heads up that it's coming.
Right, and they'll be invited to come speak, obviously, something like this. I'm sure they would rather have a residence than a commercial property, so chances are they may not even come.
The easiest thing for them, and it may be even for you, is if they, A, don't have to come, B, if they provide you with a letter of support. If you said, hey, if you just want to jot a quick letter that said, yes, you support this, then it's, that even makes it easier. I don't think you're going to have a big debate here on zoning commission.
So then, not speaking for the zoning commission, if this can get done faster, is everyone okay with scheduling a special meeting?
Sure.
Fine with it.
Probably be a pretty quick one.
We will look at the dates on the mailings and get those out this week. And then, I guess we have to have a date for the special meeting. So why don't we look at the calendar and make a determination on what that would be, ideally, and then get back to each of you, for concurrence.
Okay.
And then we'll put that in the letter.
Sounds good.
Assuming
So then at this
the date's
time,
not gonna matter to the applicant. or
We'll make it work.
Homeowner.
Yeah.
So,
at this point, we do need a motion, if someone wants to motion. So we need a motion
Motion to have-
to initiate a zoning amendment, zoning map amendment, thank you, you're gonna help me with this one. Zoning map amendment for 7102 Springdale Road, to change from a B2 back to an R6.
R3.
R3, thank you. I told you I was gonna need help on this one.
So moved.
Thank you. Otherwise, I'd
I'm
keep
not gonna
going.
repeat it.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Mr. Bachman,
Yes.
Mr. Gehrig,
Yes.
Mr. Hauser,
Yes.
Mr. Westfall,
Yes.
and Ms. McMullen.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you so
And
much.
Sorry that your mom is going through all this, and
Good stuff.
hopefully we'll see you in a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. You're welcome. All right, so we are on old business, and Mr. Miller, I know that for you, that you have an update on some of the text amendments.
yes, so, okay.
So we
They're
had-
celebrating. Oh, Mr. Becker, do you have, okay, I'm sorry, thank you.
So we had ZA 2023-10, that was violations and penalties. ZA 2023-12, that's recreational marijuana. And ZA 2023-16 now, that will be mobile food services. We were going to try to squeeze in 10 and 12 in this meeting after a series of unfortunate events. One of the cases had to get removed out of error, and then one of the cases had to get removed simply because they no longer needed to be in zoning commission. So for that matter, that's why we only had 2 of the public hearings tonight on top of the ICR. Otherwise, we would have had 4 public hearings. So those will now all go to the November meeting. And then as for Article 4, returning to that one, that was the restructuring of the development department, basically just emphasizing that no further action would be needed.
All right, thank you. So that brings us to number 10, no new business, correct? We're still good? Okay, no administrative reports, no announcements. All right, next meeting is November 21st of the Zoning Commission. Before that, we will have a special meeting to be determined. So then we are at adjournment.
Before we adjourn, could I
Yes.
make a comment?
Yes.
I think a matter of order of the way that we do public hearings, and certainly my fellow colleagues can chime in. My question to the staff is, I really like the way it went today, that when the developer and the applicant spoke first, versus getting residents that are at the podium who are not sure what's happening, what the issues are. Is it possible that we could do that on the public hearings, that have the staff comments, staff presentation, which I think is great, but then the next piece of that being the developer and then to the residents? It just seems to flow a lot better today than it did on Wawa, when we had all the residents come up and they were asking questions of the commission and we were deflecting them to either to you or to the developer slash architect slash engineer who hadn't spoken yet. And it becomes kind of cumbersome, if you will. But with Mr. Walker, who spoke today first, it just kind of, okay, here's what we're trying to do, here's why we're doing it. Agree or not agree, it flowed a lot better. So I don't know if the rest of the commission feels that way, but I do. And if we could do that, at least my opinion, I think the meetings would flow a little better. And maybe it would not be so, people are just not sure what they're doing when they hear it from the staff, and then they hear it from developer. Oh, okay, now I can understand. Now I can make my comments more appropriately and maybe with more knowledge.
Agreed.
Right, I completely agree. To add on to that, what I think would be helpful, probably more for those that are sitting in the audience and probably us as well, is maybe some type of workflow or diagram just to show people where we are in the process. So if we're in a PDP, here's, the date, and next up would be the FDP, and, the zoning commission approves that. It doesn't have to go back to the trustees and so forth. So that way they understand the actual process of what is happening as well. And although I think we really enjoy your voice, Mr. Becker, it is a lot of reading, so I hope I saved your voice a little bit. Many of those we see over and over again.
I know,
So
yeah.
if you prefer not to read them, I'm okay with that. Are you guys okay with how it was done tonight?
I think it's fine.
Okay, just making sure, because I get a little bossy sometimes.
Especially if we get them in the packet anyway. So, I mean, we read them beforehand, at least I do.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, absolutely. And they're included in the agenda packet. That's why we're at it. Anybody else? You guys have anything else that you want to add to the process?
No,
Just
I
to-
think the whole process idea, Lori, that you have is good, because I think a lot of people will leave here I'm confused on what is my next step, where would I plug in next, and just telling them up front, this is one step in a process. And then, you're gonna get through tonight, one way or another, and then you have another step potentially, or you don't. Like, this is it, like Wawa site plan, this was it. There might have been some confusion, I'm gonna go to the trustees and discuss this item. Really, you don't have that ability to do that. And letting them know kind of, this is kind of the last resort, if you were, last piece that you can have a voice, I think would be important, and back to process.
Yep,
I think that'd be helpful.
yeah. Yeah, that's great. All right, so commissioner, staff, applicants, and all in attendance, thanks for being here tonight. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.